CaramellDansen is a Swedish dance pop song written by Georgi Vasconcelos and Juha Millille. It was released by the band Caramell as part of the album Super Gott in 2001. Some years after being released, the song became an international internet sensation, and today it's remembered as one of the truly classic memes of the era. Many who were children with internet access in 2008, when the meme's popularity was at its peak, have a sense of nostalgia for this silly, outdated internet joke, which is probably why, relatively recently, the meme has had a minor resurgence. And likely to capitalize on that recent nostalgia wave for CaramellDansen, last November, the Caramella Girls released a new single, a cover of Alice DJ's Back in My Life. When this happened, I saw several people on my Twitter and Tumblr feeds get excited about how the Caramella Girls were back. Some people even described this as CaramellDansen 2. But one question, who are the Caramella Girls? Like, CaramellDansen is by Caramel, right? But the title of the video from 2008 says it's a Caramella Girls song. What's going on? I'm Jan Niesli, and who wrote CaramellDansen?
This one's for the sweets, you contribute to about 2% of my views. This one's for the sweets, and you're not sweet. Get the f*** off this webpage. This one's not for you.
This isn't actually a very difficult question to answer. By simply scrolling down to the bottom of the video description and checking who issues a copyright claim on this video, we can determine pretty easily whose song this is. As I said at the start of this video, CaramellDansen is a song by Caramel, and it was written by Vasco and Millboy. The band even named the song after themselves. That's how much they wanted it to be clear that this was their song. While often translated as the caramel dance, the Swedish word karamell is slightly broader than its English cognate, and CaramellDansen can be more accurately translated as the candy dance. The other two members of Caramel were the singers, Katja Lovgren and Malin Sundström. They're the two voices you can hear in the song. None of this information is even remotely hard to find. There isn't a secret, well, technically answer here, it really is that simple. Yet there's still a few curious little missing details. And the full story of CaramellDansen is, I think, really interesting. Interesting enough for me to make a video about it, I mean. As you might already know, the version of CaramellDansen that was a meme in 2008 isn't the same version that was released by Caramel in 2001. It's a Nightcore remix, a remix created by taking the original song and speeding it up. Like playing a record back at the wrong speed. If, like me, you have the meme version of this song carved into your subconscious where other people probably store the names of different brands of cars, listening to the actual original feels bizarre. The term Nightcore originates with the Norwegian duo of the same name, who created sped-up versions of Eurodance songs starting in 2001. With the growth of YouTube, Nightcore music found a new, much larger audience, eventually leading other artists to create their own Nightcore songs. This style of remix became very popular, in no small part due to the low barrier of entry for creating such a remix. They've remained somewhat popular to this day, because Nightcore music is just good and always has been. The Nightcore remix of CaramellDansen was created in early 2006 by DJ Speedy Cake. As the story goes, Speedy Cake made a mistake while DJing, and accidentally played the song almost 20% faster. However, people liked it so much that he started getting requests for this new remix, so he ended up releasing a recreation of his error through 4chan. A version of CaramellDansen sped up exactly 19.383%. While today we can clearly label the Speedy Cake version of the song as a notable early example of the Nightcore genre, its origins as an accidental remix make it less unambiguous than I'd like. The timeline is also a bit weird. Nightcore, the group, was gaining popularity on YouTube around the same time that Speedy Cake released his remix, and the later, much more significant spread of the meme in 2008 coincides with the early days of Nightcore the genre. So it probably wouldn't be accurate to say that CaramellDansen was the first popular Nightcore remix in the way that we use the term today, but I also have no real way of verifying that it wasn't. Around the same time, the song CaramellDansen became associated with a certain animated GIF of two anime girls dancing. This GIF comes from the animated intro from an adult visual novel released in late 2002. This origin point is, frankly, completely disconnected from how the meme spread, and I will not be saying anything else about it. This GIF had been spread around in the online anime fandom for a few years, with multiple completely separate instances of people deciding to pair it with music for the girls to be dancing to. This was all leading up to the point when Sven from Sweden decided to make a flash animation that paired the GIF with Speedy Cake's remix of CaramellDansen, which he posted to his website. He then posted his magnum opus, plainly titled Anime Lol, 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 Anime Lol to 4chan, and the rest is history. Now, I say it was Speedy Cake's remix. In a 2008 interview with the blogger Reupp, in what turned out to be the single most useful resource about the early history of the meme, Sven claims that he had never heard Speedy Cake's remix before, and claims to have edited the track himself in Audacity. This is very suspicious, because literally just listen to it. This is very clearly the same remix. For two people to completely independently decide to speed up the same 5-year-old obscure Swedish dance song the same amount and post it to the same website within months of each other feels way too specific to just be a coincidence. Since all of this stuff went down on 4chan in early to mid 2006, there's no real way to determine the exact order of events beyond just what the parties involved said happened. In my opinion, the most likely explanation is that Sven saw Speedy Cake's remix of the song posted on 4chan without context, and downloaded it, recognizing it as a song he already owned, without noticing the increased speed. When he later decided to use the song in Anime Lol, he used the MP3 of the track he had already downloaded, edited in Audacity to trim it to just the chorus. However, this is all just speculation on my part based on the conflicting accounts. It could just be a coincidence. I'm lucky enough to not have been active on 4chan in 2006, so I'm just making educated guesses here. Regardless of which happened first, Speedy Cake's remix and Sven's flash loop both became inseparable from the meme as it spread in the years to come. While Anime Lol saw some positive reactions, it didn't really go viral. Not yet, anyway. Links to and re-uploads of the video were periodically shared on 4chan and various other websites throughout the rest of 2006, with Google Trends showing an early spike in interest in CaramellDansen that October. This corresponds both to the early spread of the Flash and the early spread of the Nightcore remix. The earliest, still extant example of the song being posted on YouTube is this delightful Full Metal Alchemist slideshow, uploaded in November 2006. This antique video doesn't reference the GIF in any way, but the fact that it was made by an English-speaking anime fan in 2006 suggests that the creator probably would have been introduced to CaramellDansen through the online anime fandom, as the Anime Lol flash had been posted a good few times across various websites where people discussed anime. That December is when this video was posted, featuring the familiar dance and what is very clearly the flash loop in the background. Months later, in March 2007, the earliest surviving upload of the Anime Lol flash itself was posted to YouTube. A lot of people seem to believe that this specific video is the origin for the meme, but of course, we know better. Most of the earliest examples do not exist anymore, and were not archived, making it difficult to track exactly how and where the meme was spread. But what is clear is that this early spread was pretty much entirely within the anime subculture. And since it was being spread around in that community, it was really only a matter of time before someone posted it to NicoNiko Doga. NicoNiko, known at the time as NicoNiko Doga, is a Japanese video sharing platform, similar to YouTube. In the mid to late aughts, it was one of the biggest platforms for otakus to share content related to their relatively niche and nerdy interests. The website is home to a treasure trove of videos related to anime, manga, video games, and everything between, and its user base was a core tenet of the meme culture of the era, especially in Japan. While NicoNiko is still around, it isn't nearly as big as it was at its peak. CaramellDansen was a perfect candidate for a NicoNiko Doga meme. A short clip of anime girls dancing to a catchy song? Sure, Western anime fans of the time were pretty into it, but that exact sort of video was NicoNiko Doga's bread and butter. This far more receptive audience is how CaramellDansen would reach its full potential. The earliest surviving example of CaramellDansen on NicoNiko Doga is from March 2007. The video consists of the Speedy Cake version of the song played over this dance from the anime The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, which was a big meme on NicoNiko Doga at the time. That April, the first surviving example of a variant of the GIF was posted to NicoNiko, a video which traced over the animation, replacing the dancing girls with two characters from the sports anime Big Wind-Up. This sort of thing would later become extremely common. While there were some examples of people altering the GIF to have different characters before its association with CaramellDansen, these don't appear to have been archived. And even though these early examples show that at least some people on NicoNiko Doga were aware of CaramellDansen, it didn't truly become a hit until much later that year. In November 2007, at least two people posted the flash loop to NicoNiko Doga within days of each other. Although the flash just looped endlessly, these videos are the same length, and in fact, both are the same length as the earlier upload of the flash to YouTube, meaning that either these were ripped from YouTube or that all three of these videos were reposted from the same source. Another month later, on Christmas Eve 2007, a full version of the video was posted to NicoNiko, with the GIF playing on loop over the full version of the Nightcore remix of CaramellDansen. And this is when the meme really took off. One thing that makes NicoNiko Doga different from other video sharing platforms is that any comment posted on the video is shown in front of the video itself. It's not in the subtle way where Twitch chat comments are shown in a little sidebar next to the content of the stream. It's extremely in your face and pretty disruptive. You can disable disable this and make the comments transparent in the settings if you want, but this is how everything looks by default, and honestly, this is the true NicoNiko Doga experience. I think this format is one of the main reasons why the meme got as big as it did on the platform. Specifically, this format encouraged a Japanese audience hearing this Swedish song to engage in the time-honored tradition of Mondegreens. Mondegreens are when you misinterpret some phrase, often lyrics, as something else that sounds kinda similar. These are extremely common, especially when people listen to music in languages that they don't speak. And thanks to the internet giving people instant access to media that they otherwise never would have experienced, cross-language Mondegreens became a staple of Audie's internet culture. English speakers might recognize this style of video as animutation, a genre popularized by the serial one-hit wonder Nils Sariga in his pre-Lemon Demon days. Very interestingly, this genre of video was also popular in Sweden. Some of these Swedish cross-language Mondegreen videos predate Sariga's animutations by a few years. This includes the classic video Hatten Ardin, which in the year 2000 was one of the very first viral videos. This practice of taking a song you don't understand and misinterpreting its lyrics in your native language is just a lot of fun, especially because since the lyrics you get are based entirely on what it sounds like, the results tend to be nonsensical, and are often a little bit rude. The misheard lyrics don't need to match how the real lyrics sound exactly. As long as they're close enough, priming someone to hear a song in a certain way will allow their brain to fill in the gaps. Presenting a Mondegreen as subtitles on a video is a particularly strong way to prime people to hear the song the way you want them to. While any individual Mondegreen will be specific to speakers of the language the fake lyrics are heard in, this in general transcends culture, and happens pretty much whenever people have access to music in languages they don't understand. So, unsurprisingly, it's a thing in Japan too. The Japanese word for this phenomenon is soramimi, literally to think to have heard something. And this is where the format of NicoNiko Doga comes in. If a video contains a song with lyrics in a language other than Japanese, a Japanese speaker could then misinterpret the lyrics as being vaguely similar sounding Japanese words, a Mondegreen, or soramimi. And then, here's the fun part, they can type out the way they heard the lyrics as a comment, and then that comment will appear over the video, priming other viewers to hear the song in the same way. And of course, after hearing the song in that same way, those other viewers might decide to leave the same comment, creating a feedback loop of soramimi. So as an example, one Japanese speaker might hear the vocalization ua and interpret it as uma. This can be translated in a few different ways, but from what I can tell, it doesn't really mean anything. It's just like a sound. This specific soramimi is a major aspect of the meme in Japan. For Japanese speakers, uma is the name of the meme itself, usually stylized like this, using half-width katakana and this specific emoticon. Watching any moderately popular NicoNiko video with CaramellDansen in it with comments turned on, you'll invariably see people spamming uma. While this is certainly the strongest association with soramimi that CaramellDansen has in Japan, it's far from the only one. While not as well known outside of Japan, other Mondegreens are still a major aspect of the meme's identity, with one in particular standing out as the second most significant, and in my opinion, the first most interesting. While there are plenty of different conflicting Mondegreen interpretations of CaramellDansen in Japanese, they tend to agree on two specific things. One is uma, and the other is barusamikos. The first line of the chorus, in Swedish, is this translates as, dance with us, clap your hands. On NicoNiko Doga, when tens of thousands of Japanese speakers were introduced to CaramellDansen for the first time, many of them heard dansamios as the very similar sounding barusamikos, which means balsamic vinegar. And again, those lyrics are not the only soramimi interpretation of CaramellDansen, or even the most popular one, but pretty much every soramimi agrees that the chorus of this song definitely starts with balsamic vinegar. In my opinion, this association between CaramellDansen and balsamic vinegar is extremely funny. And I know why it didn't, but dang, I wish this part of the meme had made its way out of Japan somehow. English speakers have come up with plenty of Mondegreen lyrics for the song, which you can find pretty easily in the comment sections of pretty much any popular video with the Swedish song. But without the format of NicoNiko Doga presenting these comments as part of the video itself, there is no interpretation among English speakers nearly as widespread as Uma Uma or Barusamikos are among Japanese speakers. In February 2008, Uma Uma went viral. As I said before, it truly was the perfect candidate for a meme on NicoNiko Doga. Everything about it seems tailor-made for both the demographic and the literal user interface of that specific platform. This is when countless variations of the meme were created, tracing over the looping animation with characters from various other media. Some used the awkward loop of just the chorus found in the Flash loop, and others used the full Nightcore version of the song. It was a big thing. People all across Japan were suddenly really getting into this Swedish dance song, singing along with nonsense lyrics about balsamic vinegar. CaramellDansen was a sensation. This newfound popularity of CaramellDansen in Japan caught the attention of Remixed Records, the record label that owns the distribution rights to the song. By this point, the group Caramel had been fully broken up for years. They hadn't been together since 2003, and Remixed Records hadn't put out any music at all since 2004. And now, seemingly out of nowhere, one of their songs was extremely popular in Japan. While the exact timeline of what happened next isn't exactly clear, it is clear that this next part happened pretty quickly after the meme took off. On April 1st, 2008, the website umauma.cd was created by the media company ExitTunes. On April 16th, ExitTunes obtained the distribution rights for CaramellDansen in Japan. And it is a little weird, I think, that the website was made before they actually had the rights to the song. My best guess for why this is the case is that the process of legally getting the rights to the song took a few weeks. It's likely that Remix Records got in contact with ExitTunes much earlier, in fact. The day after officially gaining rights to the song, ExitTunes released an official animated video for CaramellDansen. It features a cast of anime girls all doing the dance from the original GIF. I definitely remember having seen this specific video as a kid, and I don't remember how or why. I probably saw one of the YouTube re-uploads. The characters featured in the video include some that were already associated with previous ExitTunes releases, but some of them were completely original characters. The most significant is this one here. Her name is, get ready, Barusamiko. See what I mean? In Japan, balsamic vinegar was a huge aspect of the meme. Okay, one of the other things ExitTunes did with the song was release this EP that contains the Nightcore version of CaramellDansen, the instrumental for the Nightcore version of CaramellDansen, 5 new CaramellDansen remixes and not the actual original version of CaramellDansen, and one of those 5 new remixes featured new vocals. And, as the song was in the process of going viral on NicoNiko, it made its way back over to the English-speaking side of the internet. While YouTube didn't have the same user interface that made CaramellDansen a perfect fit for NicoNiko Doga, it did have a much larger group of people using it. Interestingly, while a lot was naturally lost in translation, the meme's presence on YouTube was still very similar to its presence on NicoNiko Doga. The most common iterations of the meme on both platforms were videos where people traced over the dance with characters from different media. Many of these were reposts originating on other platforms, such as 4chan, but many others were cross-posted between both YouTube and NicoNiko. Around the same time that collection of CaramellDansen remixes was released by ExitTunes, Remix Records put out their first new release since 2004, Supergoat Speedy Mixes. This album is just Supergoat again, the album CaramellDansen was originally released on, but with the whole thing Nightcored. Naturally, this album was also sold in Japan through ExitTunes, but under significantly different branding. Every song is given a new, sillier title, complete with emoticons, in order to fit in with the general vibe of Uma Uma. Just like how ExitTunes released an animated music video to go with their release of the song, Remix Records created their own animated music video, and this is where the Caramella Girls come in. This music video was created in May 2008, featuring 3 3D animated characters doing the iconic dance. These are the Caramella Girls. If you look at the video now, the title indicates that this song is CaramellDansen by the Caramella Girls. However, the video itself very clearly features the name Caramel. At some point, this video was retitled. We'll get to that later. So, let's meet the Caramella Girls. There's 3 of them, Vera, Mindy, and Nadine. They look similar to some characters from the ExitTunes video, especially Vera there, sometimes called Vera, but they're legally distinct. I have a very silly question. Why are there 3 of them? With the other music video, it's this whole big cast of characters, but exactly 3? That's kinda weird. Like, the mimetic GIF features 2 girls dancing, and the song is sung by 2 women. By all accounts, it would have made more sense for there to only be 2 Caramella Girls. I don't have anything else to say about that observation, it's just something I thought was strange. Moving on, in September 2008, an official English translation for CaramellDansen was created, the first of a few different translations of the song. this is where things start to get really weird. First of all, this version was originally released as being by Caramel, like the other versions of CaramellDansen. But remember, Caramel broke up in 2003, so who made this version? Well, that's unclear. Who translated the lyrics? Who are the English vocalists? As far as I can tell, that information isn't documented anywhere. None of those people were credited. And that's like kinda messed up, right? Almost as messed up is... Okay, so this video, CaramellDansen official English version, was uploaded on September 17th, 2008. Super popular video, it got over 50 million views. But then there's this video, CaramellDansen English version official, which has just slightly over 1 million views. These are both on the official Caramella Girls channel, posted 2 days from each other. The difference between them is that official English version is 360p and widescreen, and English version official is 480p and not widescreen. Again, I don't really have anything to say about this. There's just a lot of weird details surrounding this meme, and I noticed them, so now you have to know about them too. While I'm going on only half relevant tangents, there's one strange detail about this English translation that led me down, well, it's not really a rabbit hole, it's just a normal sized hole that I fell into, then climbed back out of, then thought, huh, that's weird. So the second verse of this English translation starts with,
From Sweden to UK, we will bring our song. Australia, USA, and people of Hong Kong. They have heard this meme all around the world.
like, what? Did they just acknowledge the fact that this song is an internet meme in their official translation of this meme song? Why did they do that? That's such a wild decision. And like, they listed a bunch of places where the song is popular, but not Japan? Come on, CaramellDansen was huge in Japan. They don't even get a shout out? So a while back, I remembered this fact about the English version of CaramellDansen and went to go tweet about how weird it is. Then when I went to look up the English lyrics so I could provide the exact quote, I found this page on Genius, the top Google result for CaramellDansen English lyrics. And to my surprise, these lyrics don't include the word meme. But no, it's not an alternate translation.
They have heard this meme all around the world.
That's right, it's another Mondegreen. Balsamic vinegar strikes yet again. Speaking of English CaramellDansen with weird lyrics, did you know there's a Christmas version?
We wonder, are you ready for Christmas time? Snow in the air and the sun's will shine. Spread the light. Santa Claus is here tonight.
This song confirms very important lore information about CaramellDansen. 1, their world has multiple suns, and 2, Christianity exists. Anyway, what was I talking about? Right, official translations of CaramellDansen. In April 2009, the official German version was released, CaramellDansen. There's also a Spanish version that was made at some point, but I'm not sure when exactly. I think it was in 2020. The Caramella Girls wiki has lyrics for 2 different Spanish translations, one in Latin American Spanish and another in Castilian Spanish, but I'm not sure if they're both official or what their deal is in general. And of course, since CaramellDansen was so popular in Japan, it made perfect sense to release a Japanese version of the song as well. Even though Exatunes was handling the distribution of the song in Japan, Remix Records put out an official Japanese translation in late 2009, around the same time as the Christmas version. And by official Japanese translation, I actually mean an official Japanese translation. This version of the song wasn't created in-house for Remix Records like the English or German versions. It actually predates those translations of the song significantly. This Japanese version is a cover made by the band Fruits, and it was first posted on NicoNiko Doga in July 2008. Remix Records would later license this cover to release it as the official version of the song. As for the translation itself, well... That's right, baby, it's inescapable. CaramellDansen in a certain time and place was associated just as strongly with Sora Mimi as Never Gonna Give You Up is with lying to people on the internet. While we're in late 2009, did you know there was a CaramellDansen mobile game? From what I can tell, this iPhone app was a rhythm game where the only songs available were different versions of CaramellDansen. It is currently lost media, which is a shame because are you kidding me? I would absolutely love to play the garbage CaramellDansen rhythm game. Granted, I don't have any means of running iOS apps from 2009 even if someone did manage to uncover this thing, but I still think people should get on that. As the aughts came to a close, the internet moved on to other, fresher memes. Did everyone see that cool sax solo at Eurovision? That was pretty epic, I think. The unexpected success of CaramellDansen made Remix Records a lot of money, and then the meme slowly died a natural death. It was referenced in an episode of Phineas and Ferb, and then it stopped being cool. And then, in October 2010, something weird happened. The official Caramella Girls Twitter account announced that they're recording a new song. No, not Caramel. That group had been broken up for years. They've all moved on. The Caramella Girls, the 3 animated characters created for the second official music video for CaramellDansen, were going to release their own original song, which would be released as their first single in 2011, Boogie Bam Dance.
We are the Caramel Girls with the Caramel Dance. Now we back again with a brand new style. It's called the Boogie Bam Dance. Everybody raise your hands, get up, come on and do the new dance.
You remember that song from that one summer. It was really good, and you email it to all your friends. That's for Hook Gods again, so you can email it to all your friends.
This song is a perfect one-hit wonder follow-up song, which is weird because it's literally the first song released by the Caramella Girls. Like, to be as clear as possible here, the Caramella Girls are not responsible for the song or the dance that they're known for, and yet here they are, just showing up and saying, yeah, it's us, from CaramellDansen. So, who are these people exactly? Wikipedia says the song was recorded by Malin and Katya, the singers from Caramel, but this isn't backed up by any source. The Caramella Girls wiki says that the Caramella Girls consist of Rachel Alacost, Karen Ellis, and Lucky McSausen. Multiple other places say the same thing, and none of them cite a source either. Regardless, almost nothing is publicly known about the members of the Caramella Girls, but individual songs released by them do have songwriter credits at least, and nobody who was in Caramel is credited for any of them. From what I can tell, Caramella Girls, the group, was created in 2010 by Remixed Records in order to continue to capitalize on the by then declining popularity of CaramellDansen. The singers have been kept near anonymous in order to prevent people from figuring out that these two groups are different, which is definitely a power move, I think. Much like CaramellDansen, Boogie Bam Dance was also released in a few different languages. The English version was created alongside a Spanish version and a German version. For some reason, the music video for the German version of Boogie Bam Dance was never released. Another example of lost CaramellDansen media. Also notably absent is a Swedish version of this song. That's kinda weird. So Boogie Bam Dance was released and nobody cared. I mean, the music video got a few million views and the song probably made Remix Records a lot of money, but it failed to become en sensation överallt förstås like CaramellDansen. 2 years later, they tried again. In October 2012, 2 years to the day after they announced they were recording Boogie Bam Dance, it was announced to pretty much no fanfare that they were recording another new song. They even got brand new character designs just for the occasion, making them look even less like the dancing girls in the meme gif that they were trying to look like in the first place. At the end of 2012, in a post-Gangnam Style internet landscape, the Caramella Girls released their second single, We Love to Party. Apparently, this immediately received a large amount of negative feedback, with people complaining that the pitch of the voices was too high. So a few days later, a new version with the voices pitched down a little bit was released. This leaves the original version of We Love to Party as yet another piece of lost media related to the Caramella Girls. Almost a full year later, at the end of 2013, their third single, Get the Gold, was released, dedicated to all soccer players' girls. This time they had to go making a sportsy sort of song, in anticipation of the upcoming 2014 World Cup. Surprisingly, this attempt to appeal to the intersection of people who, in late 2013, had positive feelings about CaramellDansen and sports fans didn't turn out great. In the months between the release of the new single and the actual World Cup, the @CaramellaGirls Twitter account made a couple tweets just blatantly begging people to please go watch this music video. The Caramella Girls continued to create one new single every year for a while after that. In 2014, they released the Uncomfortably Orientalist Tokyo with a music video that for some reason features the flag of Imperial Japan. In 2015, they put out Candy Girl, which is a cover of Barbie Girl by Aqua, with the lyrics changed just enough for the song to no longer work that well. This was followed up another year later in 2016 by, are you kidding me? They did another sports song? Cheerleaders has even fewer views on YouTube than Get the Gold, and yeah, no surprises there. Who's this even for? In 2017, the song Holiday was released, which, as it turns out, is a summer holiday song, which I did not expect at all. Especially since later that same year they released Merry Christmas, which,
We wish you all a great and lovely Christmas time. Be kind to each other. And we wish you as well the best end and a happy new year. Next year will be the best ever.
You know what? Almost as good as the Christmas version of CaramellDansen. Okay, right, so in 2018 they put out Saw You Standing There, which features this line. So that's, this song was written by 2 writers. And then they followed this up by making another music video for CaramellDansen. Surprise! There's a third official animated music video for this song. This was created to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of CaramellDansen. Over 16 years after the original release of the song, 12 years after the creation of the Nightcore remix, and several months short of 10 years after the release of the English version of the song that the music video actually features. And yes, it's the English version. Even though the Swedish version is what became a meme in the first place, this third animated music video was only made for the English translation for some reason. CaramellDansen 2018 was the biggest hit for the Caramella Girls since they started actually making music as the Caramella Girls. Girls. One thing was clear, people did not care at all about the Caramella Girls, they just liked CaramellDansen. After this increased success, the Caramella Girls began making new songs and videos at a much faster rate than they had been for the past decade. Later in 2018, they made a cover of Gina G's Eurovision hit, Ooh Ah Just a Little Bit, and followed that up with an officially licensed Spanish-language parody of CaramellDansen by YouTuber Mike Crack. I don't speak Spanish, and there's no official transcription for this video for me to copy into Google Translate, so I'll assume it's good. Great, so then in 2019, they put out a few more songs to lead up to the release of the album Sweet Decade. Yes, after nearly 10 years of releasing singles, the Caramella Girls would finally release their debut album in early 2020. But before that, they released 3 more original singles. The first of these was How Can You Say Goodbye, the very first non-dance song by the Caramella Girls. So that's cool, they're trying something new with this one. Good for them. Then their next single for 2019 was Lollipop, and this one is... Okay, I have a surprising number of thoughts about Lollipop. Lollipop is the first of these songs that actually feels like it's trying to say something. This thing has metaphors and imagery that you can analyze. But the thing I've gotten caught up on is this part, right towards the start.
We always went for your original girls, and we are proud to stand up for all the rights to be. 'Cause we believe everyone in the world has got their one true special personality.
So maybe it's just because I heard this song for the first time in the context of doing research about the history of this group, but opening this song with an assertion that the Caramella Girls always were 3 original girls is like, no, they weren't? Like, the whole brand of the Caramella Girls is built around trying to confuse people into thinking that they're the same group responsible for CaramellDansen, but they aren't. This line almost reads like historical revisionism. And in the context of the whole song, the central theme here is all about originality. You should be true to yourself instead of trying to imitate someone else. Or like, hey, don't copy our style, just do your own thing. Which is weird, coming from the Caramella Girls, isn't it? Like, obviously this is just me reading too far into these things, but it still feels like a strange message for them to focus on in this fun dance song. So the final single released by the Caramella Girls leading up to their debut album was Wish Upon a Star, which is another Christmas song. They say Final Fantasy at one point in this one, which is cool because of gaming.
My final fantasy, up above me shines for love.
At some point in 2019, while the Caramella Girls were releasing all of these new songs, something happened. The previously released remixes of CaramellDansen were all retroactively rebranded to credit the Caramella Girls instead of Caramel. Not just in the titles of YouTube videos, everywhere. If you go to purchase CaramellDansen on whatever music platform, you'll find it as a Caramella Girls song. Not just the new translations, not even just CaramellDansen. Everything that had been released by Remixed Records as Caramel from 2008 to the formation of the Caramella Girls was relabeled, rewriting history to make it look like the Caramella Girls really were always there. So what? Why? How? Okay, one thing at a time. To really explain how exactly this happened, I'm going to need to jump back. In December 1985, over 20 years before CaramellDansen became a meme, a group of Swedish DJs in Stockholm, including Dr. Albin and Dennis Pop, yes, that Dennis Pop, got together to form Swemix, a loose DJ collective which would release music under the name Remixed Records. This is where the story of CaramellDansen truly begins. A few years later, in 1991, Remixed Records, the brand, was acquired by a guy named Giovanni Sconfienza, who remains the owner of the label to this day. Cool. Fast forward to 1998, and the band Caramel was formed, consisting of the 4 members we've already talked about. Vasco and Millboy already had a lot of production and songwriting experience. In 99, their debut album, Gott och Blandat, meaning Tasty and Mixed, was released, and a couple of songs from the album ended up being minor hits in Sweden. This was followed up in 2001 by their second and final album, Super Gott, Super Tasty. Of course, this album featured CaramellDansen, as the opening track in fact, though at the time the second track, Vad heter du, What's Your Name, was the most popular song on the album. In 2002, Caramel put out one more single, Allra Bästa Vänner, the best of friends, and then they were done. In 2003, the members of Caramel went their separate ways. Malin Sundström became a backup singer for Dr. Albin and Hathaway, and later started her own solo career as Dina Na. After 2004, Remixed Records completely stopped releasing music. And so, Remixed Records probably would have just quietly faded into history if it hadn't been for the unexpected viral success of CaramellDansen years later. And this leaves Giovanni in an interesting position. See, I've been talking this whole video about decisions Remixed Records made in response to the success of CaramellDansen. The thing is, Remixed Records, the brand, is Giovanni. Well, and one other guy. But everything that happened with CaramellDansen and the Caramella Girls, all of those decisions were made by Giovanni CaramellDansen himself. Okay, just to cover myself here, we don't actually know for sure whose idea it was to capitalize on the success of CaramellDansen by making a new fictional band that pretends to have written CaramellDansen. But based on the fact that Giovanni is the owner of Remixed Records and has been since 1991, and just how few other people it possibly could have been, I'm comfortable with assuming that, yeah, Giovanni CaramellDansen is the reason the Caramella Girls exist. In fact, if you look at the writers for Boogie Bam Dance, the first original song the Caramella Girls released, hey look, there he is, one of the 3 people it took to write that song. And coming back to 2019, 2019, while I can't prove anything, I'm pretty confident that it was Giovanni's idea to decide to go back and relabel the previous remixes of CaramellDansen as Caramella Girls songs. So, okay, follow-up question. What about Caramel? Sure, the group had been broken up for a few years, but are they okay with, everything the Caramella Girls have been doing here? Well, it definitely seems like they are. I mean, first of all, I might not know much about how the music industry works, but I'm pretty sure rebranding the Nightcore remix of CaramellDansen as a Caramella Girls song doesn't mean that the original members of Caramel literally don't own the song anymore. But also, judging from what they said about the meme itself back in the day, it definitely seems like they're fine with this. Regardless, this decision is the sole reason why who wrote CaramellDansen is a relevant question in the first place. Because, yes, it was created by Caramel, but legally speaking, the version of the song that everyone's heard, the meme version, is a Caramella Girls song, even though the Caramella Girls had nothing at all to do with CaramellDansen. But I mean, is that fair? Maybe in a sense, the Caramella Girls are the modern incarnation of Caramel. They've just been Ship of Theseus into a lineup that no longer has any of their original members. Except it's not really like the Ship of Theseus. It's more like if you were to disassemble a ship one piece at a time, but instead of replacing those parts as you take them out, the ship is just left without those parts, and eventually the ship is completely gone. But then, a few years later, a song created by the Ship of Theseus becomes a big meme in Japan, and in response, the guy who owns the rights to the Ship of Theseus, who is not Theseus, decides to make a new ship, the Thesia Girls, in order to appeal to this demographic that enjoys works made by this old ship that no longer exists. And what's strange, I mean, on top of everything else that's strange, is that I'm not sure that many people would have really noticed or cared about this rebranding. CaramellDansen was a dead meme in 2019. Was anyone really going to be introduced to this song at that point? In March 2020, CaramellDansen came back. This is the most significant event that happened in March 2020, I think. It wasn't anywhere near its former glory, naturally, but the great CaramellDansen resurgence of 2020 did bring the meme back into relevance. There were now a whole bunch of videos of people playing CaramellDansen loudly from a distance, except none of them are real and the audio is always added in post, because everyone on TikTok is too much of a coward to actually listen to CaramellDansen at a volume loud enough to be audible from outside. By complete coincidence, this happened shortly after the release of Sweet Decade, and now everyone looking up CaramellDansen to use it in their meme videos found it listed as a Caramella Girls song. Judging by Google Trends, interest in CaramellDansen peaked in 2008, but for the Caramella Girls, they reached their peak on Google Trends in 2020. Do you know what that means? Giovanni's trick worked! Nearly 10 years after the Caramella Girls were formed, CaramellDansen finally became relevant again, and that attention got redirected towards the Caramella Girls. That's who TikTok says made the song after all, so it's gotta be right. And that's why the Caramella Girls cover of Back in My Life was the first time I had ever heard of the Caramella Girls. This wasn't their comeback after years of silence, it's just the first single they had released post-CaramellDansen resurgence. It definitely helps that this music video was released on November 6th, 2020, a day when Tumblr was just kind of freaking out about a lot of things in general. If you were there, you definitely know what I'm talking about. Okay, then, at the end of 2020, the Caramella Girls released another new version of CaramellDansen. In a very interesting move, this one is a slow, sentimental piano rendition. Something which had been done before in a couple different cover songs, except this one's official. Okay, one second. I just went to go get an example of an older, sad piano cover of CaramellDansen to include in this video, so I pulled up the pretty popular video CaramellDansen But It's Sad, and this is very clearly the same arrangement. And clicking through the link in the description of CaramellDansen But It's Sad, it's actually a much older arrangement. And listening to the original version, it's... Okay, yeah, they seriously just took this cover from 2008 and added some strings to it. Wow, anyway, back to the video. It's definitely something that I think can resonate with people who have a sense of nostalgia for this old meme if done well. And wait, hold on, why is there text? Hey, Giovanni CaramellDansen, are you sure about this one? I don't know, it just feels a little bit distasteful to me. Then after that, they re-released the Christmas version of CaramellDansen. Cool. And that brings us to the current year. At the time of writing, the Caramella Girls have released 3 singles in 2021. They're showing no signs of slowing down. Although I gotta say, the new designs that are featured in these are like... why are they looking at me like that? Stop it. Okay, right. They've made 3 songs this year. Samurai is another song... about Japan, like Tokyo was. Valentine is a Valentine's Day song, and their most recent single is Venezia, which is a dance song about Venice. Having now gone through their entire discography, I gotta say, it's definitely not as bad as it could have been. Like, don't get me wrong, there's certainly some stinkers in here, but I still had a fun time listening through all of this music. None of it was boring, I'll give them that. One thing that I find bizarre is how not a single one of these songs is written in Swedish. It's pretty much all exclusively in English, outside of the translations of Boogie Bam Dance. And if they were trying to get lightning to strike twice and recapture the success of CaramellDansen, wouldn't you think that the music being written in Swedish would be one of the main things they'd try? Especially since I think the English lyrics of these songs are easily their weakest aspect. I think part of the motivation for that might be that even though the Swedish version of CaramellDansen is what started the meme back in 2008, judging by view count on the Caramel Girls channel, the English version appears to be the most popular one, pretty consistently. Earlier this year, when they made the first official music video for the Spanish translation, they went back and re-uploaded the other versions of CaramellDansen with the new 4K render of the music video. The new Spanish version got the most attention, but out of the reposts, the English version is still what got the most views. The difference isn't nearly as significant as it is for the original uploads of these music videos, but still, this kind of suggests that despite everything, even though CaramellDansen became an international phenomenon not just in spite of people not understanding its Swedish lyrics, but because of people not understanding its Swedish lyrics, the version of the song that the most people are able to understand is the most popular version. So if you're Giovanni CaramellDansen looking at these analytics figures on the YouTube channel you manage by yourself, yeah, maybe it does make sense to prioritize the English-speaking audience. But I don't know, maybe that was the wrong move. But okay, let's get back on track. The question we started with still remains. With all of this context in history, who wrote CaramellDansen? Well, there is a correct answer here. Caramel wrote CaramellDansen, specifically Vasco and Milboy. But that version of CaramellDansen isn't the most significant version of the song, not really. Who wrote CaramellDansen? It's whatever name is listed alongside that version on music platforms. So the Caramel Girls wrote CaramellDansen. But they didn't make that version of the song, as we all know by now. Who wrote CaramellDansen? It's the artist who made the Nightcore remix of the song, so DJ Speedy wrote CaramellDansen. But that's not really right either. The English version seems to be just as popular as the Swedish version, if not more popular. So maybe that's the real version of CaramellDansen. Who wrote CaramellDansen? That would be the person who made those English lyrics, so we just don't know. And yet, in another sense, CaramellDansen isn't just the song, is it? It's an international internet sensation. Who wrote CaramellDansen? It's whoever first heard the lyrics and decided that the song is actually about balsamic vinegar. A user of NicoNiko Doga, made anonymous by Time, wrote CaramellDansen. And really, the meme itself was written by thousands, no, millions of authors. Everyone who shared Sven from Sweden's Flash Loop with her friends on now-defunct message boards wrote CaramellDansen. Every middle schooler who traced over the GIF with their favorite anime characters wrote CaramellDansen. Every kid who downloaded the song to their iPod Shuffle and listened to it with her friends during recess wrote CaramellDansen. Who wrote CaramellDansen? The song was written by Vasco and Milboy, but we wrote the meme. But then there is one more question left. Why? Why did a Swedish dance song become a global phenomenon years after its initial release? Well, we've already examined many factors. The internet culture at the time was just more receptive to something like CaramellDansen than it is today. Its early association with the still-growing English-speaking anime subculture led the meme to NicoNiko Doga, a platform which structurally encouraged CaramellDansen to reach its full potential. But really, there's one factor that's the most important of all. Those things might explain why CaramellDansen was popular in 2008, but this is a meme that, unlike most of its contemporaries, is still fondly remembered to this day. Even at the time, people didn't fully understand why they were enjoying it. What is this? Why can't I stop watching it? Was a very common sentiment. And yet, there is a simple explanation. The song is good, and the dance is fun. And really, that's all there is to it.